It's important when looking at sort of great works of fiction to understand the environment they were written in. I want to talk about Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. This was published in 1932. He actually was writing this book, prior to that, probably 1930 and 1931. And at the time, it was definitely a period of upheaval. You had the Soviet Union, you had Germany. Both were essentially, heading towards a totalitarian, type of just society. You had Adolf Hitler, who was just sort of rising up, and his followers, were, essentially starting to transform what was happening in Germany. And there was, at this point, there would have been, this sort of fascist, vision that was being painted, all the way going back to, when Hitler was, preaching in beer halls or putz halls, as they called them, and was, basically, planting his seeds of dissent, planting his vision of making Germany great again, and sort of appealing to this nationalistic fervor in his countrymen. And we kind of know where things went. You had the Third Reich, and you had one of the scariest moments in the history of the world, where World War II was started by Hitler and everything. And when Aldous Huxley would have written this book here, it was looking at all of this stuff that was going on, and he was seeing this rise of fascism. He was seeing this rise of the state trying to control the masses, and the future he paints in this book is definitely a dark dystopian world. It is such that where folks are engineered, genetically engineered. People are not no longer have the choice of what they want to do in life. They are at birth either genetically engineered to be an alpha or beta, or go all the way down the list to be an epsilon. So your lot in life, what your role is in life, is based on how you were essentially engineered using technology. And it also had, there's a drug called Soma that's used in the book, which is basically a way to sort of, keep the masses submissive. It is something that they are given. It's almost like an opiate that will essentially deaden their, give them a dull pleasure, and it will basically sort of allow them to, not really worry about what's going around them, and essentially be controlled by, the powers that be. It kind of, somewhere almost reminds me of maybe social media, particularly clickbait. How folks can just sort of doom scroll forever, just looking at mindless videos that may just entertain them and keep them dopamines hitting when you are basically clicking end after end. And I believe me, I've been a victim of doom scrolling, and it can waste your days and waste your life if you're not careful. But this book basically talks, Soma is essentially the social media of that day. And I find this book, eerily, on point for its commentary of, how the world can become this dystopian vision if we're not careful. And I'm going to be very curious to see what the years from now, what types of dystopian tales might be, suddenly, popping up in the bookshelves, because I will tell you, what's happening around does influence what writers write. Definitely for me, I'll tell you that. So if you're looking for a great read, Brave New World, even though it was written almost 100 years ago, my gosh, this book, it could have been written a lot more recently. Anyway, it's great talking to you. Take care.